Jon, you're a hypnotherapist. What exactly is hypnotherapy?
Hypnotherapy is a way of moving people forward. Often people come to hypnotherapists and they're stuck in a pattern or stuck in a set of beliefs, and hypnotherapy is the way of helping them to move forward and start expanding their horizons again. It's all very natural that people get stuck in these patterns because that's one of the basic processes of a natural human being. When we see something happening in the wild, we need to recognise patterns that are familiar and react quickly, and that's where the unconscious mind comes from. There's two parts of the mind. There's the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, and the unconscious is the sort of programmed part. So anything that's being learnt tends to go to the unconscious mind, and anything that's being learnt tends to come through the conscious mind. But a hypnotherapist will work with the unconscious mind to help get things into the unconscious learning a lot faster. So if you see movement over in a field, you need to quickly analyse that scene and work out whether there's any danger, and that's where the unconscious comes in. It doesn't have a great deal of intelligence, the unconscious. It just reacts quickly and processes. So sometimes people get stuck in a pattern that's no longer relevant to their current point in life, or perhaps if they were small and they're afraid of a dog jumping up at them. In the adult context, it's not a relevant pattern to keep, but they've not known how to get rid of that pattern. So hypnotherapy moves them forward.
Within that hypnotherapy, what is the hypnosis?
The hypnosis is, some people view hypnosis as a process or a therapy in itself, whereas it's just a tool for helping make changes stick. Hypnotherapy in general tends to encompass things like cognitive behaviour therapy, techniques from NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. It takes ideas from all the various psychotherapies and advertising and everywhere, and hypnosis is what helps make the ideas stick with a client. So that's pretty much it, really. Yeah.
One of the anxieties for people may be questions like, will I remain in control, or is control somehow taken away from me under hypnosis?
Right, yes. Control is always with the person that goes into the trance. Firstly, I should say that not always, we don't always use a full formal trance. Sometimes we do the work and we plant suggestions as we're talking, and perhaps there's no need to actually go into a trance. So it all depends on the client and the situation. But if you do go into a formal trance, sort of 20 minutes or so, if a fire alarm was to say go off, the client can always get up and walk out just like normal, because that would be an unusual situation, and your unconscious mind is always aware. Even when you're asleep, if you hear a fire alarm go, you wake up. It's the same with a trance. A trance is not as deep as sleep, but it's very similar in nature. I often think of a trance as being a bit like the state before you go to sleep. It's that sort of half awake, half dreamy, not quite there but semi-there state. So sometimes you're taking in the words going on around you, and sometimes you're not, and sometimes you can be bothered, and it's a state of lethargy. It's just a restful, peaceful state as a rule. Having said that, people don't often realise it, but if they're running, they're also in a trance quite often. So you can have active trances as well, and watching a TV programme, you know, you can be eating away, and then all of a sudden there's a very interesting moment, and your hand just stops, and that you're in another trance, and you're exhibiting the phenomena that you can get in trance, such as, you know, arm catalepsy or arm raisers, or with hypnotherapy you can also and trances, you often also forget what you've what's been going on. Sometimes you remember it for a few minutes afterwards, and sometimes you just don't remember it at all. In that respect, it's very much like a dream. You wake up from a dream and you think you know everything about it. An hour later you try to explain it to somebody and you just don't remember. So trance is a very interesting thing, and I've lost track of the question.
Right.
There, sorry.
If somebody is thinking, I've got a particular issue and I've tried lots of different methods and ways to deal with this, all sorts of alternative therapies and things, what would be specific about hypnotherapy that might be helpful for someone?
Well, firstly, the mind is not a separate part of the body from the rest of the body. It's all interrelated. The unconscious mind does things like controlling your blood pressure, your heart rate, whether you're digesting food. Everything is related. So it's one system and one body. When people use alternative therapies, and quite often they can work, but sometimes they're just working from the placebo effect. And hypnosis is very able to help, you know, if it does nothing else, it works with the placebo effect. So, but I would like to think that it's more directed than that. It's more specific. It gets to the root of the problem, and using the therapy techniques, you're thinking about problems in a new way. I'm guiding you to come to new realizations. You have new thoughts on the process and new ways to move forward. So that's what I think hypnotherapy gives to things. It's more focused. One of the things hypnotherapy can do is help with eczema. You can get some very good treatments for eczema, but it's also related to stress and just clearing some of the systems and focusing on getting the body working properly. It often clears up. It's quite amazing. I used to be very, very sceptical about all of this stuff. I myself have suffered from ME for 15 years, and I didn't know how to get out of having ME. I knew how I'd come into it. I expected to naturally push boundaries and expand out of it, but that didn't work. It's only when I started using the techniques of hypnotherapy and visualising positive things and knowing how to move my mind forward and move my body forward at the same time that I've started to break out of the patterns.
And people for whom this is all very new might be wondering if there's any danger with it, or is it going to interfere with their mind in any way at all?
Right. There's absolutely no way I could stop anybody from smoking if they didn't want to stop smoking. If it was possible to stop somebody from smoking against their will, people would be making millions out of it. Hypnosis only plants suggestions, and it can only do that if the person is willing to explore those avenues and move along the path. A hypnotherapist is the guide on a hike, and you know, he doesn't make the person go on the journey. He only guides the person. So, you know, there are no dangers in it.
I think you've already said something about it, but if somebody has a problem which is of a particularly no, forget that question. That doesn't need to be asked because you've already answered it. Okay, right. Just connect with what you'd said before then, assuming you can edit all this, my rubbish out. If somebody was to engage in the process of hypnotherapy, how long could it take?
Right, that's always a very tricky question to answer. Some people are more some people are easier to move forward than others. Some issues have taken years and years to build, and therefore you can't expect a result in one session. I always try to move the client forward as fast as possible. I would think if there's not significant movement within 2 sessions, 3 sessions, then it depends on the situation again. Something like ME, you would want to, I think we should start that one again.
Right. Yes, what did I ask? I asked how long it would take, really, didn't I?
Yes.
Is there an easier way of asking that question in terms of answering it?
I don't think so.
No. Okay, right, let's try it again then. So if somebody is thinking about engaging with hypnotherapy, they might be wondering how long it might take for a particular...
Right. It's not really possible to answer that question because everybody is individual. I, as a hypnotherapist, you can go and do hypnosis. You can get hypnosis tapes for various problems, but they don't work to the individual, and that's why a hypnotherapist is more effective than, say, hypnosis tapes themselves. Some problems, like stopping smoking, I would expect to have results within 1 or 2 sessions. However, there might be underlying issues, and that would then cause, could cause it to lengthen a bit. Something like ME, in my case, where I've had it for 15 years, it might take a few more sessions because you've got to keep helping people see the way forward, and every time there's a bit of resistance or things aren't going as well, they sometimes need more of a counselling. But with the hypnotherapy, it's a whole process, and so I would always hope to be finished within 12 sessions, but I might spread those sessions out over quite a period of time. And most sessions I would hope to have completed within 3. I try to work as fast as possible, and that's because hypnosis as a tool gives you the ability to work at a greater speed than, say, a counsellor or a psychotherapist. So, it varies, and it depends on the situation.
And how should somebody go about beginning the process?
Beginning the
Is
process.
no, that's not a relevant question for this, is it? It was actually.
Well,
Or how should would you want that on this bit? How would somebody go about starting, or how would they?
what we could say is,
I've gone off track there because that's not actually on there, is it? But,
what you're getting at is what happens in the first session, perhaps.
maybe I was thinking of it. It
What-
feels
what-
like
what-
the
what
beginning
should
to
you
get to
expect?
a sort of a last. What sort of question would you want at the end of it?
Right.
What's the next step, sort of thing, or is there anything? Or is that not relevant for this bit?
You could ask what should somebody expect if they come and see me.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So if somebody decides they want to.
I don't know how I'm going to join these. We've got to remember the questions that we've asked.
Yes.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah. Actually, that's the point. What were we talking
We'll
about?
perhaps have to
before?
get them off the quick tape.
Yeah. If somebody decides they want to engage with hypnotherapy, what could they expect in their first session?
In the first session, you obviously have to spend some time gathering information, finding out about the client's problems and their perspectives on their problems. But as a hypnotherapist, you are asking questions that are going to probe them. So even in the first session, I'm expecting to loosen up the problem, to make people think in a different way about their problem. And so, even in the first session, I would normally try to get a trance in if that was appropriate, but that doesn't always happen. It depends how much information needs to be gathered first. But even if there's no formal trance, I would still expect the questions that I've been asking to help move the problem forward, to put things in a different light, and therefore, therapy actually often happens between sessions, so it's not always during the actual session itself. It's sometimes as you go away and start to carry on living again that the changes occur. So the first session is pretty much sort of information gathering and then probing and rethinking, and if there is time, it's about getting that trance in as well, and helping cement new ideas into new situations. So
Right. Sorry, I've gone off the. I mean, that does it need to? Is that a sort of a point to kind of end it? Do you think?
Yes. You could ask why choose me as a hypnotherapist.
Yes. Okay, and okay then. How shall I ask that? Why choose you as a hypnotherapist? I guess, isn't it? So why you as a hypnotherapist? Why should somebody choose you?
I think a person needs to select their hypnotherapist based on how they feel. The relationship has to work. What I believe I offer as a hypnotherapist is I'm very enthusiastic. I'm very keen on helping people, even if it takes me longer to crack a problem. I'm very determined to get that problem solved. My main focus is to help the client get over their thing. It's my satisfaction is in achieving results, and there's lots and lots of different techniques that can be used, and I've been taught by probably the best hypnotherapist in the country, which was Stephen Brooks. A lot of other hypnotherapy courses have used his videos to help train others, whereas I've learnt direct from the man himself. And he's just got a great insight as to what hypnosis can and can't do, and how best to apply it so that you can get more clients through things, without wanting to go into different styles of hypnosis. Some ways of working can be very direct. It's, you know, you will now go to sleep and you will shut your eyes and you will do this and you will do that. Whereas my style is more conversational, and more relaxing, really. You know, I can work in both ways. If it needs to be, if somebody needs telling, look, you've got to lose weight, then I'll say it. If they, you know, if it needs to be a more gentle way, then I can work that way as well. So it's solving problems is about flexibility, and as a hypnotherapist, I'm very flexible at helping the client understand and move forward. So.
Great. I didn't know whether it needs a formal ending or actually, or whether I was just thinking that answer there would kind of work with just sort of fading out on that, wouldn't it?
I think
Give
so,
you the
yeah.
last word.
Yeah. Did we cover everything?
Will I be in control? Will I be aware? Yeah, I think that was kind of covered. Will I know what I'm doing? I think they were all covered. Is it dangerous? Is it safe? I think we covered that. They were all. Well, as the interviewer, I heard the answers to all those.
Yeah.
I didn't go on to that one because I didn't know whether it.
I think that one's relevant, actually.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yes, I just realised I didn't even refer to that one, did I?
No.
Right. And I think and I bailed out on the physical problem one. Do you want that one in as well?
Which one's that?
I have a physical problem. I know it's not in the mind, so how can you help?
No, I've sort of covered that.
You have, I think. Yeah. Why come to you? We've done that. I've tried loads of alternatives. We've done that. How long will it take? We've done that. We've done that. Can we stop if I don't like it? Didn't really specifically. So we've got that one to do.
I didn't. I'm not that worried about that one.
No. But yeah, that one. So okay. This one, we just have to graft it in at some point, I suppose. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Somebody might be thinking to themselves, I'm very strong-willed and hypnotism won't work on me.
Yes, that's very understandable. I myself have had those sorts of concerns. I think as long as you're always wanting to go into wanting to work with a hypnotherapist, you'll get the results. I think you'll often be conscious of all the questions, and you'll probably feel sometimes that you've not gone into a trance, but the suggestions are still being planted, you're still being aware of them. In fact, sometimes I might even deliberately point out what the suggestions are to help you understand what you're gaining. This is a rubbish answer. Let's start that one again.
Okay. Yes, okay. Some people might be thinking, I'm very strong-willed and I don't think you could hypnotise me.
Yes, that's very common. I think the key question there really is, do you want to move forward, or are you wanting to put barriers in place? If you're wanting to put barriers in place, then you're right, I can't hypnotise you. If you're willing to work and to experiment and try things, then there'll be no problem whatsoever. not everybody experiences the trance in the same way. Some people are still highly conscious while they're in a trance. Other people do drift more. I think everybody will still get the results at the end of the day, though. If you're not going into the trance that I'm suggesting for you, you're still going into a trance, because you'll have trouble. You'll almost have to go into a trance to avoid going into my trance. And people do naturally relax, and even you interviewing me, I can see that your face is fairly relaxed and sort of you've got a fixated stare, so I know that you're very easy to go into a trance. So, people will have those concerns, but I think once they experience a session and get a feel for it, and perhaps, it will take a couple of sessions for some people, but it will happen, and the techniques that I know maximise my ability to help people get into a trance. So.